Alrighty. Today we're going to be finishing up the groups of interest of the Foundation. All right. Next one will be the Mana Charitable Foundation. Established in 1971 as an interfaith humanitarian relief agency, recovered documents describe the Mana Charitable Foundation's mission as sharing all of God's miracles with the least of his children. Funded indirectly through associations with various charitable groups and religious organizations, and on occasion publicly endorsed by wealthy philanthropists or academic institutions, the MCF's primary agenda since its founding has been the free distribution of anomalous objects or their byproducts to civilians living in poverty-stricken regions in the Third World, or in areas afflicted by warfare, famine, or natural disasters. The MCF is currently recognized as a non-governmental organization by the United Nations and is known to operate legally and illegally in several hostile or isolated regions outside the Foundation's sphere of influence. While no SCP objects have been known to have been distributed by the MCF, have caused intentional harm to human beings or communities, and detained MCF operatives tend to demonstrate strong pacifist beliefs, containment breaches associated with the group have often resulted in human casualties or severe threats to the global status quo due to unforeseen consequences of the object's release from containment, and or a zeal to distribute potentially helpful objects immediately without rigorous scientific study of their long-term behavior. So, there we go. So, the Mana Charitable Foundation, their SCP objects tend to be a lot of them tend to be like self-replicating in some capacity. They try to make infinite food supplies and things like that, but they don't take into account how obviously detrimental something that can replicate itself infinitely is to the world. Uh, things that infinitely generate their own mass are obviously uh, on a basic level are incredibly dangerous. So it's one of those things where they have good intentions behind a lot of their anomalies, but they tend to spiral out of control very, very quickly. So that's one like good the road to hell is paved with good intentions kind of thing. All right, next is Marshall Carter and Dark Limited, a club based in London, England, catering to the super rich with extensive political and financial ties worldwide. This group has caused extensive problems for the Foundation. Marshall Carter and Dark Limited is known for collecting rare and obscure items, along with providing its members the most exclusive, expensive, and rare experiences available. These activities have resulted in conflict with the Foundation on numerous occasions. The group is not known for the use of force. They prefer to apply extreme financial and political pressure to achieve their goals. When forced to use more direct means, Marshall Carter and Dark Limited employs outside agents and is very difficult to connect said agents to the organization. Marshall Carter and Dark Limited has caused several SCP containment breaches, primarily through the use of money or social pressure. Several reports, records, and even items have been leaked by the Foundation personnel who have been approached with large amounts of money or threats of extensive jail time or torture. Notably, 2 containment sites were almost brought to public attention after the Foundation refused access to members of Marshall Carter and Dark Limited. Information pertaining to Marshall Carter and Dark Limited, such as the name of the director or even a list of members, has proven very difficult to acquire. Agents encountering members of this group are advised to maintain a cover story and not, for any reason, reveal Foundation ties or SCP information. So, the the anomalies that you tend to get from interactions with Marshall Carter and Dark, um, they they tend to be like a really wide swath of different kinds of anomalies, um, largely because of the eccentric and often perverse nature of their clientele. You get an incredibly varied uh, number and type of uh, SCPs from them. Some of them that uh, some of them dealing with mind control or torture or allowing people to consume human flesh and things like that. There's a vast and varied uh, number and types of anomalies that come from dealing with NCD. All right. Medician Academy of Occult Art, one of the most ancient and renowned academic institutions in the anomalous world. The Medician Academy of Occult Art, in Italian, Medici Accademia dell'Arte Occulta, is a GOI based in Florence, Italy. Founded in the late 15th century by Lorenzo de' Medici, Lord of Florence and patron of arts, during the Renaissance, the Academy was able to spread its influence across most nations of Europe and the courts of the Old Continent. The activities promoted by the Academy include teaching art techniques and the recollection of old anomalous artifacts from ancient cultures. From the mid-18th century, after going through a brief period of decadence, the Academy was able to recover and create new branches, new countries, across new continents. The institution oriented its activity toward the recovery and restoration of artistical items, developing a peculiar taste for the arts. This led to hostile relations with the Oneiroi Collective movement, which is considered the main rival of the Academy. All this information is sourced from the official archives of the Italian branch of the Foundation. For additional material, contact one of their offices. So, don't know much about them, but they are obviously awesome in that they are in direct conflict with Are You Cool Yet? Who totally sucks ass. All right, nobody. Little is known about the person, entity, or group known as Nobody. First sighted in 1954, they have had numerous appearances since. There has only been one person seen at any given time, typically described as a male Caucasian, dressed in a gray suit and a fedora. If asked his identity, he replies that he is nobody. However, it is not known if this is the work of a single person or multiple agents of a single unknown agency. Their agenda is currently unknown, sometimes helping the Foundation, sometimes hindering it. Caution is recommended if any field agent encounters an operative identifying themselves as nobody. You don't see much interaction from them uh, by way of them being an especially secretive and anomalous individual or group. Um, they don't really come up all that often. Generally, if they do come up, it's more in relation to in information gathering with regards to another anomalous group, as opposed to direct interaction with them for the sake of getting information about them. So, yeah, you don't see them come up very often, though. Office for the Reclamation of Islamic Artifacts, ORIA. The Office for the Reclamation of Islamic Artifacts, ORIA, is a paramilitary force answerable only to the supreme leader of Iran, dedicated to the collection and utilization of anomalous artifacts throughout the Middle East and Central Asia. Following the 1979 overthrow of the Imperial Iranian government by revolutionary forces and subsequent creation of the Islamic Republic of Iran, all Foundation personnel were expelled from the Iran as agents of colonialism. Attempts at maintaining a clandestine presence in the country met with failure, with the majority of Foundation personnel either captured or killed, and sites blank, blank, and blank being captured by the Iranian forces. To prevent Iran from being left behind in the field of extranormal research, the ORIA was created by a secret decree of Supreme Leader Khomeini in 1981. Despite its name, the group has not limited itself to the pursuit of anomalous objects of Islamic origin. Although the ORIA has access to considerable resources, its effectiveness is hobbled by infighting among numerous factions within the organization. Some of these disputes center around philosophical differences, such as the weaponization of anomalous objects, while others appear to be personal in nature. Proliferation of factions appears to have been intentional, as the organization of the ORIA often leaves multiple commanders with overlapping areas of responsibility. It is theorized that the reasoning behind this arrangement was to prevent any one individual from accumulating enough power to pose a challenge to the supreme leader. With the spread of Iranian hegemony throughout the Middle East and Western Asia, the ORIA has expanded its reach across the region, becoming the foremost paranormal organization in the Middle East. The ORIA is to be considered a hostile force, and Foundation personnel are advised to use extreme caution when engaging. You don't really see the ORIA come up much. They're Middle East centered, like headquartering, tends to leave not a lot of interaction with the Foundation, because the Foundation primarily acts in the Americas and Central Europe. Not too much in Central Europe. Most of their activities tend to be in North America primarily, but yeah. So you don't see too much interaction with the Middle East as a general rule. So, all right, the Oneiroi Collective. Information about the Oneiroi Collective has come to the Foundation only through analysis and interviews for the anomalous objects they leave behind. It is believed to be a collective consciousness of dreaming persons and dream-based entities. Intelligence has shown that have documented they have been documented by other groups of interest, usually to a degree similar to the Foundation's interaction. The Oneiroi Collective is apparently capable of contacting even highly isolated entities, e.g., nobody. Their goals, if any, are currently unknown. So the Oneiroi Collective's SCPs tend to very specifically center around sleep and especially dreaming. Oftentimes, their objects lead to extended periods of sleep, uh, more intense dreaming, or the loss of the ability to dream altogether. So, fairly varied effects within the overall scope of sleep and dreams, but very focused in that their SCPs tend to only affect sleep and dreaming. So easy enough. Parawatch. The Parawatch Wiki is an online web forum of conspiracy theorists, paranormal enthusiasts, and amateur writers, operating with the intent of investigating and exposing anomalous phenomena. The group primarily compiles short stories on their forum, detailing encounters with paranormal phenomena, historical cases, and any unusual events users have experienced. Further operation and any potential impact on normalcy is hindered by the geographic spread of the user base and the lack of central coordination. Despite investment in the paranormal, Parawatch has no knowledge on the nature of anomalous phenomena, the Veil, and the Foundation's existence. This, in tandem with public obscurity, has prevented them from potentially endangering the Veil. The group is currently being left active as a means of misinforming and misleading other investigations into the anomalous. Parawatch Wiki is a lot of fun. There's a lot of really interesting stuff on there. You don't, and they don't really come up honestly in SCP articles and stuff. But there's a lot of very interesting SCP type things on the Parawatch Wiki. uh, tends to be more in a story format, but we're like uh, articles about the history different different things, which are really interesting. Um, there's the Minotaur in the Labyrinth uh, story is a really interesting one that I really enjoyed, and I kind of go back to it every couple of years. I'll like re-listen, I'll like reread it and re-listen to people talk about it and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting about stuff on Parawatch. If you're interested in that sort of thing, it's definitely very unique, very interesting read through, and a very chaotic and spanning uh, type of entries that they have on there. So if you like that sort of thing, they're definitely one to check out. All right. Pseudogenesis Productions. Pseudogenesis Productions is a small, anomalous theater company focused on creating immersive and interactive theatrical productions through the use of mimetic and ontological anomalies. The central team of four, Pseudogenesis collaborates with local and artists and performers to make one of a kind experiences, to give everybody a chance to see the world from a new perspective. Despite the relatively benign anomalies and performances they create, the Foundation does whatever they can to stop them. Their refusal to respect the veil has led to many conflicts and circumstances where the only option the Foundation has left is convincing the audience that it's all part of the show. Tickets sell out fast, so don't wait. Come see a performance today. Ryza note. Cognito hazardous influence detected. Haven't really seen anything from Pseudogenesis. Um, sounds interesting, frankly. But they don't. Uh, I would say probably due to the sort of focused nature of their craft, probably has to do with why they don't really come up all that often. So, Prometheus Labs Incorporated. Founded in 1892, Prometheus Labs was dedicated to researching anomalous objects for use in developing new technologies. Over the years, Prometheus Labs developed into a multinational conglomerate, selling advanced and anomalous technologies to governments, militaries, and groups of interest. Throughout its history, Prometheus Labs displayed a nominal amount of cooperation with Foundation efforts to protect normalcy, and at times even collaborated with the Foundation, but refused to cease its study of anomalies and resisted Foundation oversight. In 1998, following a long period of financial decline, Prometheus Labs conglomerate was dissolved, resulting in the creation of numerous successor companies formed from its subsidiaries. Breakup of the breakup of the conglomerate was fraught with technical and administrative difficulties, resulting in the loss of many products and the layoffs of numerous personnel. Many of the former projects of Prometheus Labs, now in containment, recovered during this time, and many of its former employees were hired by the Foundation. Prometheus Labs SCP articles specifically tend to be sort of a mishmash amalgam of research notes from Prometheus Labs in the aftermath of containment. So a lot of them tend to talk through sort of the development. So it tends to be like research notes from from the Prometheus Labs staff that were recovered from abandoned Prometheus Labs sites. So you'll get scattered scattered notes from the research teams with regards to, oh, we did this is how we developed. Tends to not have like the actual like development process, but like, oh, this is what we changed in the development of this particular creature or object or anomalous entity. This is sort of the development process we went through as we were coming up with this, and it tends to be that they have a very wide spread, and sometimes it's a little unclear what their end goal even was, other than just research generally. Because a lot of the things they do, it's like it's sort of it's very kind of unclear as to what their actual goal was for the research in the first place. And a lot of the time the company falls apart before the research even reaches what their end goal was for it to begin with. So it's a lot of like loose ends and like they were starting to connect things together, then the company fell apart, and then the whole thing just kind of unraveled on itself. So there's a lot of that kind of thing. It's pretty interesting. All right, Sarkic cults. Sarkicism is a religious or philosophical system that encompasses a variety of traditions, beliefs, and spiritual practices, largely based on teachings attributed to Grand Karcist Ion, its deified founder. Adherents practice ritual cannibalism, human sacrifice, corporeal augmentation, thaumaturgy, and dimensional manipulation. Highly secretive, the general public appears to have no direct knowledge of their existence, the one exception being the Cult of the Church of the Broken God, who views them in apocalyptic terms. Organic manipulation has allowed certain sarcocytes to achieve anomalous states of being, tending transcending the physical limitations of baseline humans. Disease is viewed with reverence, and Sarkic shrines have been discovered with offerings of swollen lymph nodes and tumorous growths. Sarkic cults treat contagions as consecration, a means to cull the weak and purify the masses, and thus actively seek to ensure their spread. The Foundation divides known Sarkic cults into two distinct strands, Proto-Sarkic and Neo-Sarkic. Proto-Sarkic cults can be found in insular communities throughout Eurasia's most isolated regions, its followers generally poor, if self-reliant, and hostile toward outsiders. Such groups eschew modernity, display acute technophobia, and are bound by superstition and taboo. In contrast, Neo-Sarkic cults are cosmopolitan, publicly embracing modernity and showing no apparent qualms with technology. Their public lives differ little from others of their culture and social status. Adherents are primarily affluent families, rich in history and scandal. Ultimately, it is believed that the Foundation only knows a fraction of what Sarkicism is and what its followers intend. Based on the available information, the speculated goals of Sarkic cults represent an SK class dominance shift, including the possibility of an XK class end of the world scenario. So with Sarkicism, it tends to be that they're like it says here, their anomalies are disease and like physical augmentation based, but all having to do with biological augmentation as opposed to like cybernetic augmentation, like some of the ones from like the Church of the Broken God and things like that. Um, there's a lot of different there's a lot of different kinds of things. Some of them, uh, most of them detrimental, honestly. Um, a lot of them like incredibly varied and like patently dangerous for the most part. Um, I believe Sarkicism is technically the one that they do not call themselves Sarkic, I believe, and they'll be more openly hostile to you if you refer to them in that way. I don't remember the specifics of what it is they like to be called, and and it could be that I'm wrong on which group I'm thinking of with regards to that, but we'll we'll eventually get to that in one of our things down the line. So we'll deal with that when we come to it. The Serpent's Hand. The Serpent's Hand is a small but formidable organization responsible for several security breaches. At least three different individuals have been encountered, all of whom used possible or confirmed anomalous items for infiltration purposes, including SCP-268, which was stolen from the Foundation, who had in turn recovered it during a raid of a Chaos Insurgency facility. The total number of members belonging to this organization is unknown. as is their level of technology. Number of possible SCPs held or total threat level. However, it is clear that they are highly coordinated and possibly dangerous. One of their leaders is thought to be a figure known as LS, who is considered to be personally responsible for 2 security breaches in Foundation sites. The Foundation currently has very little information about the Serpent's Hand, and almost all known information about the Serpent's Hand has been leaked from the GOC intelligence. The group seems to embrace the use and existence of paranormal items, and in particular seems to embrace humanoid and sentient SCPs. The Serpent's Hand has been highly vocal in criticizing the containment and destruction of these SCPs, especially those which are fully human and are not particularly destructive. The group seems to have unfriendly relationships with the Chaos Insurgency and the ORIA, and an extremely hostile relationship with the GOC. The only recorded cases of an unprovoked violence by the Serpent's Hand members have been against GOC agents. Serpent's Hand seems primarily based in an anomalous location known as the Wanderer's Library, a building accessed through portals found in many different parts of the world. Direct assaults on the library have so far proven unfeasible, even when the entrance could be found. However, initial intelligence seems to suggest the Hand has little understanding or control over the place. Attempts to infiltrate the Wanderer's Library are ongoing. The Serpent's Hand, the things you tend to see associated with them are living and especially humanoid SCPs. Um, like it says, they tend to want to free them and protect them. A lot of their members are tend to be reality benders and the like. Um, some some certainly more anomalous than others, but a lot of them tend to be what is referred to as type greens, things that can sort of bend the fabric of reality itself. So I'll see if I'll see if I can find a I'll see if I can find a thing on the different types of reality benders and things like that. But yeah, that'll be something we read down the line. Just because I don't know if I'll necessarily be able to find that specifically. All right, Shark Punching Center or SPC. Shark Punching Center, also known as the Salation Punching Center, the Shark Punching Center, Salasios Kungix Hombin, among others, is an organization located in one or more parallel universes, apparently acting as an alternate universe counterpart to the Foundation. While the Foundation has known of the center for several decades, the structure, documentation, and general tone taken by the Shark Punching Center varies wildly, suggesting one or more universes are in a state of flux. Documents pertaining to the Shark Punching Center have been recovered and indicate a much more militaristic and unstable tone than a Foundation document. As the name would suggest, the SBC is mostly focused on furthering hand-to-hand combat as a means to neutralize Salation entities, though some documentation fails to differentiate between Salation and aquatic. It is unclear if the Shark Punching Center has any knowledge or concern of or with the Foundation activities. So the SPC um, is largely a joke organization. Um, all of their anomalies are shark themed, like pure and simple. Um, like it mentions, they seem to have some confusion over whether something is a shark or just sea creature. Um, but yeah, pretty much all of their entries are purely satirical. Um, although a lot of their articles are really fun to read, simply because of the way they approach containment of shark-based anomalies. So that's really fun. All right, Three Moons Initiative. Three Moons Initiative is an extra-dimensional human military organization based in SCP-2922-C, an afterlife known as Corbenic. Through a partnership with the Corbinese deity Jalakara, they act as a multi-dimensional security force for the protection of the human race. While initiative personnel believe they are operating in humankind's best interest, military overreach, poor communication, issues with internal bureaucracy, oh my crash, wow, bureaucracy was the word I meant to say, and other factors combined with their disproportionately high military strength to our own have made them a potential liability to public safety in our dimension. As such, they maintain an unstable peace with the Foundation. Operatives of the Three Moons Initiative are to be treated with extreme caution. You don't see the Three Moons Initiative come up very often. Um, Tends to be that their anomalies sort of warp reality in some fashion. Um, Oftentimes, it's the warping of like uh, narrative realities as opposed to consensus reality, as in they warp stories as opposed to uh, physical reality. So, but again, just because of the nature of what they are, their anomalies are sort of varied across the whole scope of everything they do. So, all right, TotleiSoft. TotleiSoft is a consumer electronics and software corporation based out of North Dakota. While primarily produces anomalous video games, they have recently branched out into other fields such as home video and artificial intelligence. The founder, CEO, and arguably sole employee is a gigantic extraterrestrial life form who answers to both SCP-2803-A and P. Hudson Gawk. Despite SCP-2803-A's immense reality-bending powers, it is nonetheless obsessed with the concept of the American dream. To that end, it created TotleiSoft, becoming a self-proclaimed immigrant business success story. TotleiSoft's products are noted for their low quality, potent, and often harmful anomalous qualities and extremely poor spelling. However, the founder remains oblivious to these problems, not necessarily out of malice, through stubborn naivety. While also maintaining an uneasy relationship with TotleiSoft, the Foundation monitors, suppresses, and contains their products whenever we can. And yet, despite our best efforts, additional TotleiSoft content continues to reach the public through potentially anomalous means, gathering a sizable cult following over the years. I have never seen any products or SCPs associated with this, so we'll it'll be an experience for all of us when eventually we come across one later down the line. So, Unusual Incidents Unit (UIU), Federal Bureau of Investigation. The Unusual Incidents Unit was formed after the onset of the Cold War, when many aspects of the American government were focused on utilizing the anomalous and preventing the communists from doing the same. This led to the creation of a special FBI division devoted to rapid response to paranormal events and crimes. Director J. Edgar Hoover was personally involved with the creation. Although initially given significant funding and resources by the American government, following the end of the Cold War and the dissolution of enemy organizations such as the GRU-P, UIU had been in a state of decline for many years. Disparagingly referred to as X-Files and UI useless for the larger anomalous community, the agency is generally well-meaning. Due to a lack of financial resources, little manpower, and bureaucratic obstruction by the U.S. government, it is often perceived as ineffective. The influence of the Foundation and Global Occult Coalition in the United States government has stopped the UIU and other U.S. government entities dealing with anomalous activity, such as the U.S. Air Force's 616th Squadron, Roswell's Revengers, and U.S. Navy SEAL Team Bravo Papa Romeo Delta from being dissolved entirely. FBI agents and special agents who join the Unusual Incidents Unit often have backgrounds in psychology, STEM fields, and art studies. Part of the Patriot Act, agents of the unit are required to be administered personalized mimetic silencing agents, PMSA, colloquially referred to as gag orders by agents of the UIU to avoid leaks. The Unusual Incidents Unit has been known to engage in combat alongside and against various anomalous organizations in the past, including participating in several combat operations under Foundation supervision in the 1950s and 1960s, and the Black Mamba incident in Afghanistan in 1976, an infamous skirmish against UIU agents and members of GRU-P. Currently, a division of the Unusual Incidents Unit oversees the autonomous anomalous state of Three Portlands. An example of underfunding and understaffing in the Unusual Incidents Unit can be seen in the sole remaining division in the Midwestern United States. Tends to be that there's not a lot of interaction with the UIU, relatively speaking. It tends to be that the UIU hands over objects to the SCP Foundation that they're like, we don't really know what this is or how it works, and we're not like qualified to contain it, so we're gonna let you guys have it. It tends to be uh, sort of the way that you see their interactions within the SCP articles and stuff. It'll just be like handover of something that was particularly dangerous that they weren't really fit to handle, and then they you get basically two different sets of documentation. You get the UIU's documentation and then the updated Foundation documentation, like sort of collated together. So it gives for some interesting reading when you see their anomalies. All right. Valravn Corporation. The Valravn Corporation is an anomalous private military company, mostly operating in politically unstable regions. The presence of organizations like the Foundation and the GOC are less prominent. They are mainly hired by governments to suppress anomalous rebel groups and protect their interests against otherworldly threats. Valravn sells itself as a specialist in anomalous security and counterinsurgency. It specializes in the weaponization of myth-created anomalies, as well as paratechnologically augmented soldiers. The origins of Valravn Corporation can be traced back to the fall of the legendary mercenary Jomsviking Order, and is believed to have existed throughout history in various iterations. Valravn professes a syncretic belief in pagan Norse determinism combined with hyper-capitalist worship, which it uses to ideologically justify its mercenary business. The relationship with the Foundation is tense, with an unstable peace maintained as long as Valravn commits to operating under the veil. However, Valravn's ongoing conflict with the Serpent's Hand, Splinter Cell, Las Viboras, has complicated this agreement. I haven't really seen any interaction with the Valravn Corporation. So if and when we get to some articles that deal with them, we'll get to learn about them together. Vikander-Kneed Technical Media. Here at Vikander-Kneed, we like to pride ourselves at being at the bleeding edge of media and communications technology. Our goal has been the betterment of the person and society through unbiased but aesthetically pleasing communications. If there's a better world out there, then it's up to all of us to achieve it together. Efficient and entertaining media is the most important step on the road to utopia. Won't you join us in this better tomorrow, TM? Um, I've only seen a few of theirs pop up over the years. They tend to deal with like ads and sort of communicative media and stuff. Um, not a lot to say about them, honestly. Uh, they're fun when they pop up, but you don't see them too much. So the Wandsmen. The Wandsmen are a group of extra-dimensional journalists and archivists. They seek to explore the multiverse and uncover its mysteries, while spreading and preserving knowledge. All members of this group undergo a transformation that gives them avian features and anomalous abilities. They also utilize a group of anomalous artifacts known as maps of the multiverse to travel through dimensions to study their locales and inhabitants. In contrast to many groups of interest, Wandsmen have attempted to work with the Foundation multiple times. One of their goals is the preservation of existence so that they can study it, so they see the Foundation as an ally against the multiverse's destruction. However, they have a variety of extremely dangerous members, have produced multiple anomalous items, and strongly object philosophically to the Foundation's desire to preserve normalcy and conceal knowledge of the anomalous. I've never seen the Wandsman come up. Uh, Sound interesting enough, but we'll I'm sure we'll come across them eventually. But I've literally never come across any of their anomalies before. So Wilson's Wildlife Solutions. Wilson's Wildlife Solutions is a paranormal publicly funded wildlife service based in Clackamas County, Oregon, specifically in the town of Boring. Although the Foundation has known of Wilson's Wildlife Solutions' existence and anomalous affiliation since 1999, it took 9 years until the Ursus Maritime incident in 2008 for their existence to be officially recognized and a relationship established between the two groups. Currently, the Boring Agreement outlines the Wilson Wildlife Solutions should be supervised by MTF Beta 4 castaways, local to Site 64, and that they may handle containment of safe or Euclid fauna-based anomalies with varying degrees of Foundation intervention on a case-by-case basis. Amendments to the Boring Agreement can be, and have been, made to account for gray areas or new policies as necessary. So Wilson's Wildlife Solutions tends to house um, anomalous animals, but generally only anomalous animals which superficially, on a physical level, resemble baseline animals. So they'll take in bears and cats and dogs and monkeys and other things which might have anomalous properties, but at least physically seem to be normal members of their species. They might be like variants of the species, but only within the context of them appearing to be an unusual breed of an existing species. Things like al- albino animals or things with like pronounced additional melanin and things like that. Things that are like blacker than they should be or whiter than they should be, but otherwise are generally seen as standard members of an existing animal species, but that may have anomalous properties on their own. So they won't take in things that are like physically anomalous unless the anomalous capabilities of the animal allow itself to like hide itself in some capacity, because they don't generally want, because they have a lot of interactions with the public and things. They have like zoo experiences and things like that, so they tend not to want things that are anomalous in the capacity that they allow the public to become aware of anomalous animals and things like that. So, yeah. Hello, individual. It is good to see you. Um, this channel, at least, there's not going to be a lot of interaction with people if people come into the stream and things like that. Uh, I will keep the stream stuff so people can see this on the VOD if they want to. But this channel is mostly gonna, or this these streams are mostly going to be focusing on just reading of SCP articles and information about the foundation and things like that. But there won't be really subscriber interaction and things like that too much on this channel. But I'll try to acknowledge you guys, but other than that, won't really be much. And this will probably be about the only time I address it. Okay. So that'll be it for today. That's the end of the GOIs. I will probably try and do um, people of interest at some point here. I think next thing we're going to do is anomalous items. So we'll probably go over those. That'll be honestly, that'll probably be like a 35 video series because there's a lot of anomalous items that don't warrant SCP classification. So probably do a whole big series going over all of the anomalous items, and we'll um, then we'll do a follow up with like people of interest because I think there's a lot of really interesting things with that, and then we'll kind of play things by ear and go forward as seems most reasonable. So that'll be it for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.